Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Storky Farmstead. So today we're going to take a quick look at our worm bins. I reset these beds about 6 weeks ago. I'm going to be honest, I could convert my materials, my organic materials, over into worm castings faster if I would use less bulky material. So I'm sorry, she's very needy. So I'm really big about using the nutrients and the organic materials already found on my property. Very similar to, I guess, like the Korean nutrient forming. So I want my natural microbes to increase in my market garden. So what I'm using is a lot of, plant material from my yard, leaves from my yard, the rabbit manure from the rabbits that eat from the garden. I do use shredded paper and cardboard, but I use very little peat moss and the cocoa fiber because that's not really sustainable to me. It costs money for me to get it, and my bins are very large. So let me turn the camera around and show you guys how amazing this one bed is. I wanted to show you guys what worm castings actually look like on top of the bed. So when you look right here, you see the worms right on the surface, which is an indicator of a healthy bed. I noticed on the other side of the bed, the worms are all very low, so I'm gonna need to do some work on that. But the worms are close to the top, and they're eating through this cardboard beautifully. And what's left over, worm castings, all right? So I do put, like I said, the cardboard on top and on bottom of my beds. You'll also notice a lot of leaves. It takes them a good bit of amount of time to break that down, guys. Now, when you move over here, something I want you to notice is how dry the cardboard is. When I move that out of the way, look how dry the bed is. So there's barely any moisture left in that. And I noticed there were barely any worms on this end. Your bed needs to be about 60 to 70% moisture. It needs to be moist, not wet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna re-wet all of this cardboard and the leaves that have gotten dry underneath it. Like, they're not gonna be able to break that material down. In fact, it could kill them because it'll dry them out, and we all know that they breathe through their skin. So I'm gonna need to put some more moisture along the edges of this bed where the oxygen and the air is moving back and forth on the beds, because that's important. Because they're gonna eat the cardboard. Once they have eaten all the cardboard off the top of the beds and underneath, that usually is an indicator to me to go ahead and run my castings. And a lot of times I have to put this bigger material back through a few times to get it all broke down. They will break the rabbit manure down, the cardboard, the shredded paper. By the time that I run it, a lot of the leaves will go back in again, but that's okay. Like I told you, I'm looking for a better product. One thing I really honestly believe that people are missing when they're doing their worm castings is you're looking for a quick turnover, or you're looking to get castings really quick. Same thing, a quick turnover. You're not really thinking about the materials that you're using and how important that is to create nutrient dense castings. Like, yes, I put coffee grounds, used coffee grounds and ground up vegetables in here and food piles that come off my property. But the thing that makes my worm casting so great for my garden is that I'm using materials from my own yard, from my own livestock, and I'm creating nutrient catch cycles over and over across the property. So we grow a 1/4 acre market garden. That's very large, and it's pretty intense production. The only things that we use to fertilize are our own worm castings, our own compost made in our chicken coop out of chicken and rabbit manure, and then we use rabbit manure. And our garden is beautiful. The plants are thriving. They're a beautiful green. But guys, it comes back down to basically trying to use the materials that you already have. Like, you can make anything that you want as difficult as you want it. You can use the big words and you can make the process sound so difficult. You can put a ton of money into making worm castings. And when it comes down to it, what the worms eat is what the worms poop. You are what you eat. So for me, it's very important that my worms are given as much organic material, as much material as possible off my own property, so that it is then benefiting the microbiology that's already on my property. It doesn't do me a lot of good to be shipping in materials from off property or purchasing high-end materials just to get a quick turnaround on castings, especially if those castings are not nutrient dense. Now, rabbit manure has a higher NPK than any other manure in the world. And I tell people this all the time, like, you can't beat it. So for me, using rabbit manure, it's a cold manure. My rabbits eat from my garden. I use their manure to grow my garden. So I'm catching nutrients like that. So when I put that down into my worm bin and my worms then eat the rabbit manure, my worm castings are going to have a higher NPK than the majority of people that make worm castings. And it's all coming back down to they are what they eat. Their poop is what they eat. So just remember, you can get so technical when you're doing things like worm castings, worm tea, and people will try to sound so scientific, but if the materials that they are using are subpar or low nutrient density, the castings are going to be low nutrient density. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. A child could create worm castings with some leaves, some cardboard, in a bucket. So, I mean, we always want to pat ourselves on the back because, woo, we make worm castings, but we're not doing anything amazing. I mean, worms make worm castings in the garden totally without our help. So if you're gonna do worms, remember the materials that you're putting in that bin need to be nutrient dense. And one way that you can do that is rabbit manure. Another way that you can do it, guys, is making sure that you're using as many materials off of your own property as you can. So I get it. I understand that people, you know, they like to talk about all the crazy stuff they put in their bins and how wonderful their material is. But when it comes down to it, does it have the microbiology that your property needs? And if you are purchasing worm castings from big box stores, please stop, because they basically have to pasteurize that before they can sell it to you, which is going to kill the fungi and the bacteria that is in it. That is why we make worm castings. We're trying to increase the healthy bacteria and the fungi in our soil, okay? And using worm castings around your plants is actually like body armor. There's some amazing studies out there that show that worm castings actually repel bad fungi, bad bacteria. Like it's almost like what garlic will do in a petri dish. When you drop bacteria and there's garlic juice in a petri dish, the bacteria literally swim away from it because it's toxic to them. Worm castings are very similar. There are also some amazing studies that when you use worm castings in your garden, you attract earthworms. Now, I like to say it is a pheromone-like substance that is produced in the worm castings that attract other worms. They honestly don't know for 100% why the phenomena happens, but it does. So using worm castings in your garden are going to naturally attract earthworms, which are then going to aerate the soil so water can go into your soil easier, and they're going to leave worm castings out and around for your plants to uptake, and they're going to soften your soil. They're basically like the earth's ultimate miner. So I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that this takes the fear of starting a worm bin out of it for you. Please stop letting people make you feel less than when they want to talk over your head. When I hear people doing that on videos or on the worm bin sites, and they start doing all that and questioning everything, and then you hear what materials they're using, and they're basically spending a ton of money, and they're, micromanaging their bins to like this crazy amount. Guys, it doesn't need to be like that. They're worms, all right? So just give them some good materials to eat off your property. some rabbit manure, cardboard, shredded paper, and bam, you've got an amazing product. So I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that it just takes the fear out of doing this. Say it all the time. Gardening should not be turned into a big scientific debate. Soil health is the most important thing, and worm castings are the first step in healthy soil. So God bless you. Have a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe so that you can get more videos on how to easily and inexpensively make the best soil amendments in the world. Thank you for watching Storky Farmstead.